some of the statistics around social media for kids is, in my opinion, astonishing. More than a third of parents, 39% of parents who gave their kids a smartphone preferred to have waited but felt social pressure to do otherwise and give their kids a smartphone. Half of kids under the age of 18 started using Instagram and TikTok while they, or sorry, yeah, under 18 started using Instagram and TikTok at the age of 13, and 54% of parents who have let their kids have access to social media felt pressures from other families around them. Jillian, not necessarily what you're doing with your kids specifically, but like it feels like kind of not the good trajectory to be on of only doing it because of outside pressure, which is what a lot of this article was talking about.
Oh, I hear that from parents all the time. There's a lot of outside pressure. Well, so and so is on Instagram. They have a TikTok. And so my kids are around it. They're exposed to it. So I might as well just give in. Or your kids are traveling. They do sports. They need to have their own phone. Well, I have two toddlers of my own. And I try to keep things as far away from them as I can. I just got an iPad the first time because it came for free with my iPhone. And I will say I broke it out for the first time yesterday on an airplane. And I said, okay, we're watching this on an airplane because it was tough. And that was the first time they've ever seen it. But it is something that I monitor when I'm around other parents too. Like, hey, they don't use an iPad. So please, if you could like wait till they leave to use that, it kind of stinks, but that's what I do. And I'm going to try as hard as I can to make sure my kids are not on social media until they are 18. I do not put them on my own social media right now. You cannot find their faces anywhere online. I do that for their protection for many, many reasons. But I want to keep them preserved from that. I think I was like the last person in my generation that made it out of high school without the social media pressure and anxiety and the standards that come with it. I don't want them to be influenced by anything satanic, anything bad, or feel this pressure put onto them by culture to do certain things, to like certain things. I'm going to keep it straight Bible for as long as I can in my house.
Yeah, and again, none of this is saying that this is like easy to do, right? As a parent, like, yeah, it's kind of difficult. And Adrian, I think some of the difficulty comes with kind of those awkward conversations that I've had to have and my wife have had to have with people who are, you see sticking the screen in front of her face, like, we don't really do that. And it's not, trying to be pompous and arrogant about it, but it's a hope to protect the kids. I don't know. Have you had any of those conversations? What's your kind of overall take on this?
Yes, absolutely. And I think this is a fabulous panel, right? Because we're all parents. So this is a fabulous topic. But I have a 5 and an 8-year-old, and I feel zero pressure to let that 8-year-old go anywhere near, a smartphone. So my kids, they have the iPads, but it's restricted to they can only play on the video games that I can download for them. They really have no access to surf anything ever. And like Jillian was saying, on airplanes and things like that, that's where we allow them to go on it. But, it's been awkward. You talk about summer vacation going off, you go on a summer vacation, you rent a house with your friends, with your family, and they raise their children differently. And they have the iPads and the snacks that we don't do. And listen, the combination is, it's a moment for sure, but I stand on business in my house, and I want my kids to feel the feeling that I had when I was in 9th grade and I received a Nokia phone and I could change that faceplate, right? That was an incredible feeling, and I want them to feel that. But I'm pushing it off as long as possible, and I am looking into phones for, that age group where you can pretty much only call me or their dad, because I feel like who else do you need to talk to? So,
yeah, and I feel like we all turned out fine. I was talking to our Gen Z neighbor the other day, and he's in summer school, but he's like, "Oh, it's online. Did you have to take online classes?" I was like, "That wasn't a thing. Like, not all that long ago, dude. Like, no. It wasn't an option that I had." But yeah, the whole technology. Jillian, you have something?
Yes. Have you guys seen this new trend in landlines? I love it.
Oh yes, actually I have.
House phone again, so kids can connect with like their grandparents or cousins or their friends. You just pick up the phone and call, very old school style. And I have to say, I love it. I'm here for that.
Now,
Yes, very wholesome.
Is that like a fax machine? Do you do this with the numbers? Is that how you use it?
I know. I have to think back. I have to think, how did we do that? We have to memorize everyone's phone numbers.
Yeah, you have to have it memorized. You have to have it in a book. You can prank call people, which is always fun. But yeah, it's a thing of the past that I wouldn't mind seeing come back. I don't know if this is a great transition, but speaking of things of the past or grandparents, Social Security. I know this is a tough subject to talk about, especially because it seems like both parties are united in not reforming Social Security at all. And this is not to say, hey, we need to take away Social Security. It's not saying any of that. This is just the reality and the numbers. The CBO last year said that we've got about 10 years before Social Security is completely out and people are going to have to start taking big chunks of cuts in their Social Security benefits. That is not, anything politically driven. It's just the math doesn't work out. Well, they've updated that to say, okay, well, we actually have a year less than we thought we had before we see Social Security start diminishing. Adrian, this is like somebody has to deal with this at some point. President Trump says we're not touching any entitlements. Agree or not, it's a math problem at this point. I don't want to have taxes increase to cover this balance, but do you have any thoughts? What should we do here?
Yeah, it's interesting whenever they choose that the math isn't working. I feel like there's some finagling to do. With the negotiator in chief here, I feel like with the art of the deal and his experience, he could figure this out for us. But this affects Gen Z and millennials the most. And that is why they are the most vocal about all of the current events that are going on right now with spending. But yeah, we need to get this under control because we don't want this to be a story of government failure. We want it to be a safety net, what it's intended for. And I don't want to work any longer.
Yeah, right. At some point, I want to retire also. And unfortunately, I think our generation, you probably can't depend on Social Security. Jillian, my biggest thing that I've said to a bunch of my lib friends, and I've got a lot of lib friends. I live in California; they're kind of everywhere. Is that hey, if you make things more efficient, which is what Doge is trying to do, you have money to do all of the social programs. You have got money to put in Social Security if that's what you want to do with it. But I think it starts at not having any waste, fraud, and abuse. But if that's the case and the math doesn't work out on Social Security, why do you think libs are so against the Doge process and making things efficient?
I just think Doge is attached to Trump, so it is bad. I don't understand. It's really hard. I mean, you've seen this in the past, right? To actually ask a liberal what they don't like about the cuts. They have a very difficult time pointing out to specific things that are not generalized fake news about what they don't like about the cuts. But I mean, we saw the Social Security cuts that Doge did in general. There were people who there's no way they could be alive right now collecting. We had people collecting dead relatives. We had people collecting multiple. I mean, there was so much waste, fraud, and abuse just on Social Security alone. And that's not even getting into the spending that we did on illegals or anything else. That itself needed to be looked into because we saw this day was always going to come to an end. Social Security was going to run out, but hopefully we can preserve for more time if Doge continues to do their job. And I think since Elon left, like that was the scary boogeyman. People have really calmed down about Doge. It's still around. It's still doing a good job. So I hope they just keep doing a good job as long as they exist.
Yeah, totally. That seems, hey, if we can save money, I'd rather do that than have to raise taxes when the inevitable ends up happening in a year sooner than we originally thought.